nights, truths on the run. Buried secrets were the ones who dig them up for fun. Headstones in the graveyard where stories reside. We bring back headlines, no place to hide. Try to cover it, but we'll find the trace. Shadows and whispers, no escape from this place. Headstones and headlines, where the truth collides. We'll expose the lies. There's no way to hide. From the dirt to the brick, we'll make it clear. True crime uncovered, it's why we're here. The headline tells a tale of deceit. From the grave to the page, the truth reads. Cold cases, long leads, nothing gets by. We turn the stones, leave no questions why. You can run, but we're hard on the trail. Every secret's revealed, no matter how scale. Headstones and headlines, where the truth collides. We'll expose the lies. There's no way to hide. From the dirt to the brick, we'll make it clear. True crime uncovered, it's why we're here. In the dark of the night, we bring it to light. Every crime, every lie, every fight. No stone left unturned, no truth left unsaid. We write the headlines from the graves of the dead. Headstones and headlines, where the truth collides. We'll expose the lies. There's no way to hide. From the dirt to the brick, we'll make it clear. True crime uncovered, it's why we're here. Headstones and headlines, where the stories remain. We dig 'em up, we feel their pain. The truth is out, the case is closed, but our search for justice never slows.
Hey everyone, happy Sunday. I hope everyone is having a good day. It is finally fall here in New York. It's about 70 degrees right now, and I did get outside for about an hour, so that was good. I wasn't going to, and then I was like, it's going to be winter soon. All the things I have to do can just wait until then. So, and I have it half done. I am scrubbing and cleaning cat boxes. So it was that or go outside. I chose to go outside. So I hope everyone is having a good day. Josh, thanks for stopping in. Sinner, Glow, good to see you. Hey, Steph, how are you? Hope the parents are good. So we are going to talk about Hurricane Helene again, and unbeknownst to me, until today, there is another hurricane that is going to hit Florida. And currently, they believe it will be a Category 3. However, that's what they thought in some respect to Hurricane Helene. And the way the path of, let me see if I can find the way the path of this incoming hurricane, I have never seen, well, let me rephrase. I don't remember seeing a hurricane just go straight across Florida. So this is, just a photo. So like the track, but it's just going to go across Florida. And I don't remember ever seeing a hurricane do that. I feel like it always either, goes up the coast of Florida and then inland, or it'll, the East Coast or the West Coast. This seems like it's just going to go straight across Florida. So all of Florida is going to be affected. Just very bizarre to me. So hopefully those of you in Florida, I did see that, I believe Lady K is in Florida. I saw her post saying that she is preparing for the hurricane. And I just think of, all of the people I know in Florida, including, family. So hopefully everyone stays safe. Hey, Remy, you thought the same. I don't think I've ever seen one going across. Yeah, it's always, gone, like, hit the coast and gone up. It's gone, but never, like, straight shot. So, and what did it say? Wednesday. So Wednesday AM, it's going to be off the coast of Florida, the western coast, and then by 7 a.m. Thursday, it's going to be on the East Coast. So 24 hours it's going to take to go across the state of Florida. That seems like a long time to me. Hey, Ninja, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, I know, Steph. The stores are empty down there and gas lines miles long. I know, right, Ninja? I feel like, and it appears to be maybe a little more south than what Helene hit Florida. But it seems like it's kind of the same area. It might have been just a little north. But I mean, I don't know. I just hope everybody stays safe and, heeds the warning should they come. I had seen, I don't have it in the slideshow for today, but I do have it for a later time if we get there. A family or a couple in Florida decided to ride out the storm, and little did they know that the water was going to overtake their home. So they got into their car trying to, get out, and the water just completely overtook their truck. Thankfully, they were rescued and they are alive to tell their tale, but if it's me, I'm not going to hunker down. Like, I'm getting out of there. Agree. Always take warning serious. I say this kindly. If there are orders to evacuate, please seriously consider it. Things can be replaced. You cannot. And I know, with pets, I don't know what I would do in that situation. I don't know. I hate thinking about it. So we're going to move on. We're going to start with the New York Times has been doing a great job keeping up with information about the rescue efforts, the victims, how to help, kind of. They did the same thing with the was it Miami building collapse? They really stayed on it. They had diagrams, they had, information about those who lost their lives, just very in-depth coverage. And this is the only newspaper that I pay to read online because I think they do a great job. Hey, Team Brit. Good to see you. I hope you're feeling better. Oh my gosh, Remy, I saw that. A mom and her 2 newborn twins. That is a story I chose not to include. There's a few that, I've watched on my own. But when I thought about putting together this live, I was like, nope, not today. Not today. Hey, Corinne. Hope all is well. So this is what we know about Hurricane Helene's destruction so far. And this was updated at 11:19. So it was today. It was updated. And this is Keaton Beach, Florida. Just completely destroyed. I mean, their houses are on stilts, so it seems like overall, this house obviously had roof damage, but overall, I mean, it appears that the structure is good, but just it looks like a house next to it got completely destroyed. So after making landfall as a Category 4 hurricane on September 26th and tearing through the Gulf Coast of Florida, Helene plowed north toward Georgia and walloped the Blue Ridge Mountains, washing out roads, causing landslides, and knocking out power and cell service for millions of people. And the one thing, I watched a video earlier, a lot of YouTube creators in that area actually documented their experience. And I don't remember the channel, but they had a farm and it was already flooded. The roads were already flooded. The river had already spilled over its banks, and they got a text on their phone, warning, flash flood. And I thought, well, it's a little too late. And the only reason their house was spared is because as the water was just, soaring through the neighborhood, it was taking out parts of the land. So it almost made like a trench where the water could get even deeper. And so it actually helped the water to recede into a smaller area than to overtake the whole thing. It showed them, getting their animals together and putting them in certain places. And they had these 2 pigs. They were not, well, I guess they're hogs because they're bigger, right? They were not happy. They were not happy to go into a horse stall, but they got them in there. And thankfully, everyone was okay. And so it's, it just happened that they made it. But so many were not able to. Here they are reporting. Oh, and Ninja, remind me where you're at. I always think England, but I don't think it's England. I feel like you're somewhere else. Here they are reporting that more aid and human resources are being sent to other parts of the world, but the same effort isn't made for the communities affected. I can't say, not to get too political, based on what I've read, because there is a lot of misinformation being reported, I don't believe our government is doing as much as they can. However, there are organizations on the ground doing amazing things in those communities. The one being Samaritan's Purse, which I do have. I'm going to share their link now since I've mentioned them. I've been watching their videos on YouTube. They also have a Facebook page, and I also believe they have an Instagram page, just doing amazing things. And then Sinner actually shared one with me earlier, and now I don't remember the name, but it is in the description of this video. Sinner, if you're listening, just remind me. It's an organization made up of veterans who go and help people in need. So that was really cool too. No, Remy, they didn't. I don't think they went to another home. They had planned to go to their cabin if it got really bad, which was even higher. But this one, the one thing I remember is they had a trailer of their like belongings in case it did get flooded, and they ended up chaining it to a tree. So I don't know if that, but I can share it on my community page too. It was actually really interesting. Hey Cash, how are you? Oh, Spain, that's right. I should have remembered that. Spain. Yeah. Well, in Corinne, they said the same thing in Hawaii after the Maui fire, so I'm not sure what to believe. I will say, and I don't think they would mind me saying, we do have someone who is very often, I'm not going to say who it is, but we do have someone who frequents our chats who has been affected. They are very close to Lake Lear, which, as we know, completely destroyed. And they told me that their work, where they work, was washed downriver. So they're in dire straits as well. So I did respond to them just to see, what can we do to help? Is there anything you need? I haven't heard back yet, but just know that, people in chats are part of this, and they need help too. But thankfully their family is okay. They were able to, they were airlifted out of the area, so they are in a safe place, and that's really all that matters at this point. Sinner, I saw him somewhere. I saw Willow somewhere. Where did I see him? I saw him in some chat. I don't remember where, though. Hey, Fixing, how are you? Convict to counselor. Cool name. Is pledging $100 million to cover the damages to start with doing enough? Or what about agreeing to cover all of the damage no matter the cost? That's not enough. What more would you like? Well, pledging $100 million doesn't necessarily mean that $100 million will be given. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. But I will say that offering $750 to those who have lost everything is an insult. They probably couldn't even pay their mortgage with $750. Oh, that's cool, Glow. Justin Rhodes. Yes, Wendy. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Justin Rhodes. It was, I mean, seeing his wife, I mean, I would be the same, like, just so, like, scared. So yeah, I would definitely check that out. Justin Rhodes. Thank you. I knew someone would probably have seen it. Oh, good, Cash. You saw Willow post earlier. Exactly, Steph. Amber Heard also pledged money. And that never happened. So you can say you're pledging, but doesn't mean you're giving it. I did see that, Glow. Dolly Parton is giving $2 million. I did see that. And she's always so giving in all of these situations. It seems like she's one of the first to, she loves her state and she loves that area. So, oh, wow. She was giving 1 million and then someone she knows is joining with her, which made 2 million. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. I know chat. I want to read chat, but I can't read chat and show it on the screen at the same time. So it says, across western North Carolina, towns were destroyed, water and fuel supplies were disrupted, and residents were in a communications black hole scrambling for Wi-Fi to try to reach friends and family. Officials raced to rescue survivors, locate victims, and restore flood-damaged water systems. The chaos in the state was part of a path of destruction that Helene carved through the region, including portions of Tennessee, South Carolina, and Virginia. As of October 6th, there were more than 230 confirmed deaths from the storm. And that's actually higher than I had heard earlier today. It was at 227. So sad. Hey, Tuxedo Baby, how are you? Thank you so much for being a member for 12 months. I appreciate that. Hey, Fixing to Snap. I want to put your comment on here. I live in the upstate of South Carolina. We lost power for 6 days. Stores still don't have full sleeves. Schools are still closed. Trees and power lines are down in many places. We was lucky, I guess. I mean, I think all of it is, terrifying, horrific. Hey, Troll. Helene is the deadliest tropical cyclone to strike the mainland United States since 2005, when Hurricane Katrina caused nearly 1,400 deaths on the Gulf Coast, according to statistics from the National Hurricane Center. Here's how Helene wreaked havoc across the Southeast. Western North Carolina experienced a historic disaster. Pounding rain, flash floods, and dangerous landslides savaged the area around Asheville in western North Carolina, putting the region in crisis. It's like a mini apocalypse, said Gretchen Hogan, a resident of Brevard, North Carolina. So many roads were severed by washouts, mudslides, or toppled trees and other debris that many towns were completely cut off. Cell phone service and electric power were down in many areas, complicating officials' efforts to reach people calling 911. In all, there were hundreds of road closures in the region, including blockages of 2 main highways, Interstate 40 and Interstate 26. Officials told residents to consider all roads in western North Carolina closed, with only emergency rescue vehicles allowed to travel. As crews began the monumental task of trying to clear blocked roads, the state, with assistance from search and rescue teams from other states and the federal government, began airlifting food and other supplies to isolated communities and sending workers to begin restoring water systems. Officials in Asheville said repairing the water system there could take several weeks. I know, Keto Kim. I've seen that. The Mountain Mule teams. It's so great that they're, able to help. People congregated in public places like libraries to try to reach their family and friends. Officials in Buncombe County, which includes Asheville, requested portable cell towers to help restore service while permanent repairs are begun. After roaring ashore into Florida, Helene set several records. Helene barreled into Florida's Big Bend region on the night of September 26th as a Category 4 hurricane, packing 140-mile-an-hour winds. Fueled by very warm ocean temperatures, the storm was the strongest on record to strike the Big Bend region, a marshy and sparsely populated area. Helene, the third hurricane to hit the Big Bend in 13 months, broke storm surge records all along Florida's Gulf Coast, including many that were set just over a year ago by Hurricane Idalia. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida spoke about the complete obliteration of homes in parts of the state at a news conference on September 28th. Cedar Key, a small community on a collection of tiny islands jutting into the Gulf of Mexico, was completely gone, said Michael Bobbitt, who lives there. And I have seen Cedar Key was hit really bad by, I believe it was Hurricane, now I don't remember, but this one just, they had rebuilt, and this one took out even more than last year. In Keaton Beach, another small shoreline community, the sheriff told a local TV station that 90% of the homes had been washed away. A record-high storm surge inundated the Tampa Bay region, including areas that had rarely, if ever, seen flooding. After facing several hurricanes in recent years, some residents were left wondering whether it was worth living there. Yeah, true. Dirt bikes, quads, they may be able to get up and going long before cars and trucks. Limited supplies are better than none. The storm also struck communities beyond Florida and North Carolina. Helene overwhelmed towns hundreds of miles from Florida with pounding rain, muddy water, and tornadoes, knocking out power as far north as Cincinnati. Many creeks and rivers breached their banks, and water overtopped some dams. Helicopters rescued dozens of people who were stranded on a hospital roof surrounded by floodwaters in eastern Tennessee. The Nolichucky Dam came close to failing before the water there started to recede. Though the storm largely spared Atlanta, several neighborhoods flooded and about 100,000 households in the area lost power. Across Georgia, there were at least 33 storm-related deaths reported as of October 4th. In Tennessee, state officials confirmed at least 13 related storm deaths. There were still at least 23 active reports of missing people from flood-affected areas as of October 5th, according to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. The White House approved emergency requests for federal help from Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Alabama before Helene made landfall. Once the storm hit, FEMA said that more than 1,270 rescuers were deployed to assist. The death toll has surpassed 230. By October 6th, at least 234 people were confirmed to have died because of the storm in 6 states: Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. Causes of death included rising floodwaters, falling trees, vehicle crashes, and a tornado. Officials have said they will not release names of the victims until their next of kin can be notified. That process has proved to be difficult in many cases because of the limited availability of power and cell service, particularly in Western North Carolina. As a result, few details about the dead have been made public. The state with the highest toll so far is North Carolina, with at least 119 confirmed dead by state or local officials. Among them were deputies from the Macon and Madison County Sheriff's offices who were, quote, tragically killed in raging floodwaters, end quote. At least 49 people were killed in South Carolina, including 2 volunteer firefighters who were responding to calls when a tree fell on their truck. In Florida, officials said that at least 18 people were confirmed dead, most of them in Pinellas County, which includes St. Petersburg, Clearwater, and nearby coastal communities. The county, the most densely populated in the state, was inundated with record-breaking storm surge when the center of Helene made landfall more than 150 miles to the north. So that is the update as of now. And that was from the New York Times. Hey, Oki, thanks for being here. Oh, the hospital where they were on the roof may have been new. Hey, Sandy, thanks for being here.
Good evening and welcome. Misery and still more loss in the southeast almost a full week after Hurricane Helene swept through the region, causing the catastrophic flooding that ripped apart so many communities. At least 215 people are now reported dead in 6 states, and that number is almost certain to rise. Helene now the deadliest hurricane to hit the mainland United States since Katrina almost 2 decades ago. Rescues still going on almost 7 days later. Sam Brock is following this still unfolding tragedy from Asheville, North Carolina. And Sam, so many people are still unaccounted for.
Yeah, Lester, that was the real revelation right now. Buncombe County saying that
Hang on a second, I just saw a comment. Where did it go? The personally owned helicopters getting turned away, loaded with supplies, is puzzling to me. Interesting. Yeah, Josh, the ones who lost lives are the ones that came fast and they didn't have time to react, or they were in vehicles and got swept away. And, you know, if one of my mods can find, what was his name, Justin Rhodes, and drop his link, I think that kind of shows some people probably didn't have time at all. It was, you know, when you have raging water, it just, you know, and a lot of the roads were washed out. So where do they go?
figure went from 4 yesterday to 200 tonight. But with homes and debris on the roads like the ones behind me and communication gaps, it's a figure that is constantly fluctuating. Almost 7 days after Hurricane Helene battered large stretches of the South, the search for those unaccounted for continues as new stories of survival come to light.
The water rose so fast and got so strong that I just had to grab a post and hold on.
The devastating death totals only expected to grow. So far, at least 215 fatalities now confirmed across 6 different states. From Florida's Pinellas County, with around a dozen drownings, to Georgia's statewide suffering, recording more than 30 fatalities. And then there's North Carolina, where more than 100 have died. And search and rescue efforts have taken some miraculous turns. Former NASCAR driver Greg Biffle using a private helicopter to deliver supplies, spotting a stranded survivor only because he was hoisting a mirror, also in the
Oh my
mountains.
God.
Employee.
So it seems like this guy was able to at least get, somewhere, and thankfully that person had a mirror. Thank you, Pookie. Thank you, Team Brittany. Oh, everybody shared it. Thank you, mods. You guys are on it.
Of Skyfire AI firing up their drone and showing us how they work with governments and even private companies to locate the missing.
Aid for local law enforcement to help search and rescue, to help find routes, to better get aid in and out.
We take a bird's eye view of the destruction in Burnsville, North Carolina, an hour outside of Asheville.
Jesus.
Is this the area they've been searching?
There has been a lot of search and rescue in this area. I know it's been very difficult for them to get up here. And this is one of the areas they're saying still needs a lot of supplies to get moved in.
On this day, choppers, likely medevacs, fly overhead as the Skyfire team shows us roads that have been buckled, broken, and chopped off. All the while, families wait.
We've had conversations with people who haven't seen their loved ones in a week, and it's completely heartbreaking.
Their efforts even helping companies like CVS, who determine road and bridge status so they could get medications to patients in need quickly and search for several employees who were unaccounted for following the storm. The damage on the ground, in this case.
Wait, was that about impact plastics? I was looking at chat. Let me just rewind that a little bit.
Loved ones in a week, and it's completely heartbreaking.
Their efforts even helping companies like CVS, who determine road and bridge status so they could get medications to patients in need quickly and search for several employees who were unaccounted for following the storm. The damage on the ground, in this case an access bridge by a local quarry that's all but gone, indicative of the challenges that lie ahead for restoring infrastructure like water. Swannanoa Fire Chief Anthony Pendlin addressing the decimated pipe.
And that's one thing. I mean, with all of this infrastructure gone, I think back to the Baltimore Bridge collapse. I mean, that was, a huge pathway to and from. But here you have hundreds of communities with roads, bridges, their houses, businesses, everything washed away. Like, how do you come back from that?
I don't think there's a word to describe it. I don't know how long this is going to take.
Radar.
For so many tonight, the road ahead is long, but their mere survival is something to celebrate.
The front door, the water pushed it in and it pushed in the back door. And within 30 seconds, it went from the ground to neck level.
Sam Brock.
Okay, so we actually watched this lady on my last live. And so she's saying in 30 seconds, it rose. I mean, I'm not sure how tall she is, but I would say several feet. Which, I guess when it rushes in, it rushes in. And thankfully, she was able to survive. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, her dog also survived.
It pushed in the back door, and within 30 seconds, it went from the ground to neck level.
Sam Brock, NBC News, Asheville, North Carolina.
Joining me now is Deanne Criswell, FEMA Administrator. Administrator Criswell, thank you for...
All right, so let's see. I have not watched this, but here we have the FEMA Administrator. Let's see what she has to say.
Being with us, I know you were back in the air in a chopper today. Are you seeing places that you simply can't get to on the ground still?
Lester, we are. We're seeing communities that are still isolated and having a difficult time getting commodities, talking to local officials and hearing about how they're getting food and water up into some of these more isolated parts of their communities. But we're seeing everybody come together, local, state, federal, nonprofit, private sector, really coming together to make a difference.
As the lead federal agency on the ground there, what's the order of priority right now?
Hey, Nicole. Did you know, and actually I did know, but I believe, let me find that comment. Did you know YouTube has an organization you can fundraise for that's helping with hurricane victims? Yes, but I believe you have to have over 10,000 subs. That's my understanding. but I am not sure. Oh, Samaritan's Purse? That's the one I mentioned. And I've been watching their videos. It's absolutely amazing what they're doing and what they've been able to do so far. I mean, just moving tubs and tubs of mud from basements and from people's homes. They're doing amazing work.
It is still life safety. There's a lot of search and rescue teams here on the ground. We want to make sure that we're getting them into the communities. The next one is the commodity delivery, keeping that flow of commodities moving into the communities, making sure we're reaching people that perhaps haven't been reached yet. And then the next big one is going to be the water restoration. Once we can get that water restored, we know a lot of people are going to be able to start their recovery process.
You mentioned a search mission. Is there a recovery mission though right now? Are you accounting for those we have not heard from since the beginning of all this?
That's the big focus for the state and all the local officials here, is making sure that they do account for everybody. And so they are still searching and trying to make sure we've reached everybody. We hope to find more and reunite those that haven't been accounted for with their loved ones.
Let me quickly ask you about what people should expect from FEMA right now. You know there's frustration. What's your response?
We've been moving commodities, people, resources into this area since before the storm hit. We are going to continue to bring those resources in, listening to the local officials. One of the reasons I'm here, so I can see firsthand what's needed. And people should know that we are going to be here till every person has everything.
Oh gosh, I didn't mean to cut her off. I must have put the wrong time in. All right. And just this image in itself, I mean, it's like a dollhouse. So the videos I have are really from every state affected. I don't think I have any from Florida or Georgia. The majority of these are from Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina. But I feel that it's representative of, what happened in Florida too, based on what I've seen. I know, Sandy, I can't imagine how they feel either. And the one thing, I was talking to Sinner earlier, because some things I can't watch, but a lot of them I'll watch because I know the people are okay. And so I'm thinking, like, what can I do? Like, you feel so helpless, especially, me being in New York. And so, it was the Samaritan's Purse, and there's another search and rescue team that is there to help animals. We're going to have a video about them. I don't remember their name offhand, but I actually looked into, local animal shelters there, because I can only imagine how many animals they're, receiving, animals that have been found, animals that are hurt. And I wasn't able to find anything animal related, but then I found this rescue group that is, helping animals. And so I'm like, okay, well, there's, something I could help support. Oh, Nicole, it's okay. I get it.
But tonight, emergency crews are still searching for missing storm victims. And there are so many.
And I do want to mention, because my last live, it was reported upwards of 600 people missing. As of today, and I don't remember what article it was. It might have been actually the Washington Post, which I had an article that I think it might be maybe not the Washington Post. Anyways, they had said that they have been able to account for 800 unaccounted for people, and they believe there are about 200 still missing, which is still a lot. But they were able to make contact with at least 800 people. However, there's still a lot missing. Hey, KCG. Oh, you donated to Samaritan's Purse? Yeah, their videos. I mean, I've been watching them. Amazing work.
People still unaccounted for, including a local teacher.
Kim Ashby disappeared when her home in Avery County got.
And one thing, I hate to keep pausing this, but my thumbnail for this live is the Ashby's house. I hadn't realized when I saw that picture initially that their house was floating. Their house was no longer on its foundation in that photo. And one of the neighbors took that photo as it was floating down the river, or towards the river, I should say. And that's also what, breaks my heart, is that some people thought they would be okay in their house, and they weren't.
Washed away. Channel 9's Hannah Getz spent hours with a rescue team from Rowan County as they tried to find her.
Oh my God, look at that.
You can see how easy it is for a house to get swept off its foundation.
Just 60 miles northwest of uptown Charlotte, parts of Avery County sit in ruins.
We're going back over into another road that's been washed out.
Tucked away in the hollers and hills are some of the most rural communities, now stranded by the devastation.
Oh my
I don't know that there's words for this. Without seeing it, it's hard to explain other than just sheer devastation.
Our day searching for a missing school teacher led us to this point.
Crawl under this.
Hiking through some of the toughest mountain terrain with the Rowan County Sheriff's Office search and rescue team, looking for any sign of Kim Ashby or any others who need help. But the trek to this moment started hours earlier with a briefing at the Avery County Emergency Operations Center.
Flow yesterday on the river. What was the flow like?
Oh, it was moving. Yeah, he was in it, so there were places where there were whitecaps.
A swiftwater rescue team came in to help because the only road into Elk River was washed away.
We're going to act as y'all safety, right? Somebody gets in the water, we will have folks ready to get in the water to come after you.
Right now we are in Heaton.
Corinne, the National Guard has arrived. They are there. I don't think I have the video in this presentation, but the National Guard is there.
And you can see absolute devastation throughout this area. This is the old country store, lifted up off of its foundation, rubble, debris everywhere, even this old gas station right here, a tree just sitting in the middle of it. What we're seeing right now is crews starting to get to work on some of the cleanup. You have the excavators and the heavy machinery out here digging up the roads, pushing the rocks off the side so people can start to get in and out. Right now, we're waiting for more crews to show up. We're going to start to head up the mountain and try to locate someone who's been missing for a few days.
We're holding on for dear life.
We drove up the mountain with Rowan County Sheriff Travis Allen.
This is the scary places. How weak is this up under here?
Maneuvering our
right, and I would say the same thing. Half the road is, has fallen, and so just having a little bit of weight, like the guy said, like, is it going to hold us?
Way through the crumbling roads, cutting our own path in some parts.
Are they bringing her up on a side-by-side?
Once we got to the top of the mountain, we switched to all-terrain vehicles to take us down to the other side, passing whatever and whoever is left. Even the animals are looking for dry ground.
The last couple of days, that what this is, these operations have turned from rescue to recovery.
And that just, those animals, it makes me so sad, because hopefully, they were on video, but hopefully they either have a home there, or there's someone that's, at least keeping an eye on them, because, it's so sad. Yes. Thank you, Sinner. If you don't know something is fact, please do not post it in chat as fact. Misinformation can do real harm. I agree. And that's why at the beginning of this live, I had mentioned, someone who is in my chat quite often and actually frequents this part of YouTube frequently, lost everything. And that was one of the things that I believe it's a she, but they had told me is there's a lot of misinformation and rumors going around. And, that was, if I had any questions to ask. The only question I did ask though is how can we help? What do you need? Yeah. KCG, I don't think it was directed towards you. I think just in general. And I did see KCG, yeah, a lot of conflicting information. There is, because there's, you have, mainstream media, you have the government, you have the people who lived through it. And that's why I've been watching a lot of videos of people who lived through this, because that tells me the truth. That tells me the truth. Seeing what the people endured. I mean, you can't deny it on video. I mean, that's the truth.
Now, days after the original flood, difficult truths were starting to set in.
It's sad and unfortunate that some of these people may never be found.
But the Rowan Search and Rescue Team is not giving up on their search for Kim Ashby.
We hope she's okay. We know she's scared, and we just want her back home.
Ashby's daughter says Ashby and her husband Rod checked on their Riverside home Thursday, but the floodwaters quickly came Friday, and before they could get out, the water picked.
And that's the thing, when the floodwater comes, their house is surrounded by water, raging water at that.
Picked up the home seen right here and carried it down the river. This rubble is all that is left.
Oh, God.
Neighbors say they saw the couple holding on to the roof of the home as it flew down the river, rounding bends before it hit something and broke apart. Rod was found alive the next day 2 miles away.
Jeez.
Kim hasn't been seen since.
And that's who we're looking for right now. Okay.
This drive along the river follows the path of the house before it crashed. It's also as far as our ATVs could take us. Before crossing the river, we saw down lines and a trailer 20 feet up in the trees. Everything these people once had, surrounded by destruction. Yet they're 20 feet up in the trees.
Holy crap. That's wild.
Everything these people once had, surrounded by destruction. Yet somehow those who are left, like Buddy Davis, aren't losing hope.
It ain't been no party, I tell you that. We just have to take it as it comes. Oh, it hurts you.
Poor guy.
Yeah, it hurt the whole community.
Right off the edge here. Just don't. Two at a time. We'll get to your PFD right here, make sure it's fitted.
A Swiftwater team from Cary.
Have a seat right there. You go.
Took us across the river to start our search. On the other side, a family now cut off from society. Surviving off the food, water, and diapers deputies brought them the day before.
We're very fortunate compared to some of the people in the area.
Stephen Lininger's positive outlook comes in part from this bright light in his life. A 2-year-old granddaughter named Sunshine.
You get a little depressed or something, she does something silly and makes you laugh.
Sunshine gave a message to her dad on the other side of the bridge, telling him she's safe.
Say, hey, Dad. Hey, Dad.
After the river crossing came a 5-mile hike, starting on this dirt road. Deputies searching through the mangled debris. What's left is unrecognizable.
So you can get an idea of kind of just how high the flood water.
And with that debris, I feel like without actually going through it, something could be missed. Just, yeah, Team Brit, extra sad for anyone who goes missing in that area at this point in time. The area is vulnerable. I agree. I agree. Oh, and thank you, Steph, for describing that for KCG. I appreciate that. Hey, 10, how are you? I saw a post about an older gentleman who had lost his family's original homestead. He said for all those years, nothing close to this had ever happened. Yeah, I feel like this, you know, a lot of media is calling it biblical proportions. And I would tend to agree. And you know, they didn't see it coming. I know, the trees, Steph, and that I feel too is, there was one video I watched. There was a house floating down the river, and it was about to hit this apartment complex. But there was a power pole in the middle of this, you know, newly formed river. And the power pole ended up splitting the house in half, sparing the apartment complex. How the power pole, how strong that had to be not to, I mean, it was like a knife and butter. That's crazy.
There's debris all the way up in the tree lines.
Corporal Travis James
Wait, what?
points to a
What did she say was up there?
How high the floodwaters are. There's debris all the way up in the tree line.
Okay, yeah, I see debris there. I thought she had said something else.
Corporal Travis James points to a pile of rubble across the water, a wooden casket on top.
What's the plan? Where do I go?
The wood line grew thicker.
Crawl under this?
We went over and under.
And you know, that's one thing that I hadn't thought about. A lot of people's loved ones who had passed prior aren't at their final resting places. I remember my parents telling me about a flood, a really bad flood that happened here back in the 70s. And I think in any place where there's flooding, you know, things move. And that's one thing that, you know, I've seen as well, as people aren't where their final resting place was meant to be anymore. And so those families are also going to be heartbroken, because what if they never find them?
Brush, at times crawling on the forest floor. I followed the rescue team.
Need help?
And photojournalist Devin Mello followed me until we got closer to the area that hasn't been searched, hoping to see a red shirt, the last thing Kim Ashby was seen wearing.
Oh, red shirt.
But after hours of searching, the terrain became too dangerous. We had to end the search without any sign of Ashby.
It's heartbreaking for the family. I know they want closure. I know they want to find something. And just not being able to find something to give them, I would say, is what hurt. Like, it hurts.
Disappointed, exhausted, the team heads back to base. Along the way, we see the Leiningers one more time, taking it all in. Grateful, Mother Nature somehow showed them an ounce of mercy.
We've lost a lot, but we're very fortunate. There's a lot of people out here who's lost a lot more than what we have, so God's blessed.
And you know, this guy here, who doesn't look old enough to be a grandpa, I must say, is out there helping others when, you know, his family is stuck on the other side of the bridge. You know, and the sheriff's deputies, thankfully, you know, they were able to bring diapers and other supplies to them because they're cut off from, you know, others. It's just so cool.
I'm happy
People
for
helping
that.
people.
So what happens now?
Sit and wait.
And you see them, Scott, risking themselves, those responders risking themselves to go find and save others, and so much devastation. It's going to take a long time to replace those things, but people cannot. be
Well, all
replaced.
those rescuers and searchers, even Hannah herself has a mom and
Yeah.
a dad and brothers and sisters, and they know that she's missing. Her family's wanting to know what happened to her, and they're willing to risk it. And you see how difficult it is, just a tangled mess of, like they say, Lincoln logs, trying to get through that. This is a
Yeah.
difficulty our rescuers are having in the very rural areas.
And they are so very persistent. They will not give up looking. Want to have a big thank you to our Hannah Getz and to our videographer, Devin Mello.
Long days.
Yes,
Long
very
days.
long days, back to back, for capturing the work of that rescue team, trying to find that woman and any other survivors.
This is just one snippet of all the people across the state, across the country, who have come to Western North Carolina to try to help out. In fact, over the past week, we've heard one question over and over from our viewers: what can I do? Not everybody can go up and paddle across a stream or climb through a trail, but you can donate to the Red Cross and direct the money to the Hurricane Helene Relief Fund specifically. We have a link to the donation page on our free WSOC News app. You can also scan QR code on the screen, upper right-hand corner. You see right there. If you want to pause it, if you have the ability to do that, you can scan that QR code. We'll keep that up for this entire newscast. That's a link. You can be assured the money will go into the right direction.
I would tend to somewhat disagree with that statement. I always choose to donate to local organizations. But that's just my opinion. Oh my gosh, pine trees bend to the ground and go back up again during the eye, and felt the silence of the eye. KCG, so I did mention it's Hurricane Milton, is that it? Yes, Hurricane Milton. And the path is showing it going directly through the center of Florida, like just straight across Florida. And I just looked that up quick again. It says local schools are closing ahead of Hurricane Milton. So let's see. Oh, 39 minutes ago. Let me share this instead quick. So this is from WESH2. I know we're kind of switching gears a little bit, but Hurricane Milton rapidly intensifying on path toward Florida. So I'll play this. Or not. Oh, come on. I'm trying to turn the volume on and it won't let me. All right, forget that. All right, are you going to play the video or what? All right, I'll just read it. I don't know what's going on with this. But now I can't get it out of the way. So it says Hurricane Milton continues to gain strength on the Gulf of Mexico and poses a threat to Florida by the middle of the week, according to the National Hurricane Center. Models show the storm making landfall near or south of Tampa as a Category 3 hurricane, but that could change. At 2 p.m., the storm was upgraded to a Category 1 hurricane. By Monday and into Tuesday, the system is forecast to move faster eastward or northeastward across the central and eastern Gulf of Mexico, where additional strengthening is likely. According to the National Hurricane center. Milton is located about 815 miles west-southwest of Tampa and holds a maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 983 MB. All right, so here's actually, I'm going to see, can I make that bigger? Yes. So here is the path. So just south of Tampa. And it's moving right now at 7 miles an hour. Yeah, I agree, Josh. Definitely watch it. I mean, it's really, I mean, the track could be anywhere. I mean, it's pretty much the whole state of Florida. It could go, you know. Hey, AP, how are you? I hope you are preparing for the incoming Milton. I agree, KCG. Scary to have them. I mean, yeah, it'll have been like, what, 10 days? 10 days since when this one hits, it'll be about 10 days. Oh, is Sober Pug here? Oh, yeah, I didn't even see you. Hey, Sober Pug. Oh, that's such good news, Sober Pug. The fire that started here end of July finally was 100% contained a week ago. Hey, Liza. Yeah, I mean... Hey, Willow. Thanks for being here.
If you want, we can pass it down.
Yeah. I walk with a man who plans to deliver 2 5-gallon cans of gasoline and food to a friend whose storm-damaged house is at the bottom of a North Carolina gorge. The only road in and out was largely destroyed in the storm. So now you can only leave via emergency helicopter or by taking a vigorous and muddy 3-mile hike out about 1,000 feet up.
It will undoubtedly be a very long time before our vehicles are safely able to use this road again. Josh, how much farther do you think we have here?
The man I'm walking with, Josh Parker, hasn't been able to get in touch with his friend Brian and is worried. We run into other civilians who have been hiking down in order to help survivors who are either...
So here, these survivors are helping, they're shoveling mud so that there are easier pathways to get places.
They're stranded or don't want to leave.
We got hella chainsaws down there. Yeah.
As we approach the bottom of the Green River Cove Gorge, we run into Fred Russick. He was among many gorge residents who rode out the storm.
All the older people with infirmities have been airlifted out. My place, total loss, but
I'm sorry.
I expected that.
I'm sorry about it, man.
But I'm alive, and my loved ones are alive, and kinfolk and such. So we got everybody.
I'm glad you're okay.
Safe that night.
I'm glad you're okay.
We arrived.
KCG, I will definitely let everyone know when I hear back from them.
Arrive at the bottom after about 90 minutes of hiking. Houses, RVs, cars, trucks destroyed.
Oh my God.
Roads have disappeared into the Green River, which is now so wide it's unrecognizable to residents.
Your house, you can tell, is beautiful.
Yeah, it was. We'll get it back there again.
You're going to rebuild?
Oh, if they let us. We don't even know what.
If they let you.
Yeah.
Interesting. That man said, when the reporter asked, "Are you going to rebuild?" the man answered, "If they let us." So I would assume that means if they fix all of the infrastructure to get there. I mean, that's an interesting statement to make.
As we make our way farther into the gorge, a helicopter starts flying directly towards us. Aboard the chopper are members of the South Carolina Helicopter Aquatic Rescue Team. 2 of the rescuers being rappelled down to the ground to make sure people are okay. As of now, there have been no reports of deaths in the gorge or serious injuries. We see Fred Ruddock again at his property. He was in his home when the storm hit, but found higher ground. This is where your house
Oh my
was before the
gosh.
storm.
Yes, sir. This is where my house was. The front corner to the kitchen, right across that monkey grass. Door be facing right at us. Just
Thank goodness that man decided to go to higher ground. I mean, and he's pointing out like the corner of his house and things, but all I see is a lot of sand.
to the left of that push mower.
Okay, and there's this huge tree.
Yeah, the house got pivoted.
Here's where it is.
Turned to arrive there against those trees before the debris trapped it, so it didn't continue going down.
Oh, his house was moved. So I guess he was just saying like where the house was, and then he just said it got moved and it went around and then it got stuck. And I don't know what that is. It says something, this white thing. It almost looks like, I don't know what it says.
And around back into the river like most debris did here.
This is incredible.
It's incredible. I mean, it was epic. It's sad. I mean, I pretty much lost everything.
The house has been in Fred's family for more than a half century. His late grandmother lived there.
I wholly intend.
Liza, that makes sense. Their property lines have changed. Yeah, I mean. Josh, I'm not sure. I haven't watched this whole thing. I do have a video of a man who was rescued after being stuck under his piano when his house collapsed.
To rebuild. I feel like my sweet grandma Katie would have expected me to do so. She got me hooked on these whitewater rivers and the love of the great outdoors. This was beyond my control, Grandma Katie.
So you're doing this for your grandma, for yourself. This is your life.
This is it. This is in my blood.
Before hiking out of the gorge, Josh Parker finally gets to his friend Brian's house, only to find he's not there.
What?
We are told Brian was airlifted out just hours earlier when his health became a concern.
Do you want to leave the gasoline here anyway?
I'm going to leave it for somebody.
Yeah, somebody can use it.
Brian's dog Maggie wasn't taken on the chopper, but volunteers are about to take Maggie on the long hike out of the muddy gorge.
Aww.
Gary Tuckman, CNN, Green River Cove, North Carolina.
And I mean, that looks so desolate, like just very remote, kind of off the grid, so to speak. I mean, it's craziness. Yeah, an army of surveyors. I mean, yeah, and Josh, if you can find that, if you email that to me, that video, that would be cool. It's headstonesandheadlines@gmail.com. Oh, wow, Keto Kim. A tornado hit a small town here and they had no choice. Government buyout. Oh, wow, Pookie. We have a small town here that FEMA won't let build houses. They have to have trailers. The levees break on a regular basis. Sounds like the levees aren't being built very well, in my opinion. Oh, Sandy, after the fires in California, they have not allowed some people to build again, or should I say they can't get insured if they do, or both. Yeah, I'm wondering, you know, the one, I had seen a video where they had insurance, but it didn't cover floods. So they were just asking, like, what do we do? Like, insurance isn't going to cover a lot.
Tonight at 6, the rest of our team in Western North Carolina headed deeper into one mountain community. They're still in desperate need of the basics.
10 News anchor Abby Ham brings us the story of their travels. When we tried to make it to Chimney Rock, we went further into Fairview, where we had to pull over. We could not go any further because the roads are impassable, too treacherous and dangerous for cars to drive on. But we did get to see some of the worst damage in Fairview, thanks to the kindness of one man.
All right, good. Well, you got the right boots.
We met Mitch Colby, who offered to take me on an ATV ride to see the parts of Fairview that are unreachable. Mitch is an artist who lives on this 100-acre sheep farm.
The storm seems to have come right up through the Continental Divide. This is a little tiny stream.
I quickly learned why driving these roads is impossible. Holes, crumbling asphalt, not to mention down.
And I would be very skeptical of even going, like, in this area. Like, the hole comes up to, like, the middle of the, even probably further than the middle of the road.
On trees and debris everywhere you look.
It changed this landscape forever.
The further we drove, the more damage we encountered.
Well, it's total chaos. I mean, you have mountain slides that have pushed houses into roads, and then giant boulders have been pushed off the mountains into the road, into houses. Houses have been pushed.
Holy shnikes.
200 yards away from their foundations, and it'll never be the same.
These are their darkest days.
I had a helicopter over here. They airlifted a body that'd been there for 4 days. Nobody knew about it. A dog found it. And it might be a relative of some of these people right here. We don't know.
And there is a video that I had watched. I decided not to include it in my live today, but there is a team going around with cadaver dogs searching for people who may have been killed. You know, it's work that has to be done. And I hope that, you know, they're able to find everyone who is missing or unaccounted for.
But Mitch is finding comfort in family.
Thank God, you know, we got each other. And that'll get us through, you know. We're survivors up here.
In Fairview, I'm Abby Ham. And on Abby's ATV trip, Mitch Colby took her to a church where she met people she says she will never forget, their struggles and their hopes. That's coming up tomorrow on 10 News Today.
All right. Where is, oh, here. Hey, Tanro, thanks for being here. Dr. Boz in Florida said she had great flood insurance, but her insurance company said it doesn't count for storm surge. How devastating they can't do that to people. You got to read the fine print. I mean, so, but I get it. I mean, so what? They only cover a flood if it's because it rains too much? Or your washer starts leaking and, you know, gets water all over. I mean, a flood is a flood. But I know, you know, a lot of insurance companies, depending on where you live, you know, I know here I'm in the valley, so thankfully I'm a little bit higher than the rest of the houses where I'm at. But a lot of the insurance companies won't cover some of the houses because they're in a known flood zone. It's wild to me. You pay all that money and Yeah, Darcy, I agree. Got to find that fine print. People need to ask a lot of questions because there are things that are not covered. It's sad hearing people saying that the coverage does not cover certain things. Yep. Yes, Sandy, storm surge. I mean, and I'm going to share. Thank you, Sinner, for sharing this with me. And if you could, Sinner, or one of my mods, if you could drop Duchess's link, that would be great. So this, I'm going to have to check more. I know Duchess is local to this area. So United States Geological Services dashboard shows 350 total landslides across North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia from Helene. 350. And I mean, they're really all over, but it's really concentrated. I'm assuming this is the path that Hurricane Helene took. But that's incredible, 350. And I mean, how do you survive a landslide if it covers, you know? I mean, I'm sure some people do. But a lot of times you can't, I would assume you can't see a landslide coming. We saw that video, I think it was my last live with that car on the highway. They were just driving and all of a sudden a bunch of earth just comes crashing down, behind their car. It's wild. Hey, Olivia Fig Newton John. How are you? And where did that comment go? Thank you, Sinner, for sharing Duchess's link. People need to understand how rural most of these places in Western North Carolina are. Yeah. I have an idea. I live upstate New York, near the Adirondacks. And I think of, when I think of these parts of, North Carolina that were hit so hard, I think of, the Adirondacks here.
As the total number of those who did not survive Helene continues to rise, there are still incredible stories of survival.
And that includes from people here in Central North Carolina. CBS 17's Russ Bowen is here joining us now. And Russ, you had a chance to speak with a young woman from Wake Forest and an incredible story she's telling.
Yeah, Avery Panner is a public health major at App State. The 19-year-old knows that as much as she was in the wrong place at the wrong time last Friday, it's because other people were there at the right time that she is alive today. Here she is in her own words.
We're kind of trying to work fast and work safely.
Oh my God, she's in a freaking, it looks like a parking lot. Oh my gosh.
And we go down the main road that brings us to the top of the hill, and a tree falls down right on top of my car. We move forwards, trying to go to the higher ground as much as possible.
Okay, I thought that was her car in the parking lot. It's clearly not, because they just showed her car with the tree fallen on.
We are almost there. It is in sight, and my car starts sinking into the mud underneath.
Okay, just go, keep going.
The water at this point is about 2 to 3 feet deep. So it's about to the handlebar where you open my car. We are all trying to figure out how to get out of this car as fast as possible, because at this point the water's rising to about the window now.
Where is it in the car as far as where you're sitting on your body?
Yes, so I'm sitting, it's about up to my hip level.
Okay, but unlock your, yeah, they're all locked. Everything's unlocked.
And we are trying to look for a window breaker, which I had in my glove compartment, but nobody could see anything because the water is brown and murky. and we are just getting deeper and deeper into this water. The car is filling up much quicker.
And I actually was thinking, I wonder if she had a window breaker. And I keep my window breaker on my keychain, because although now, cars, you don't need your keys to start your car. You just have your keys. I have my keys in my bag and I just press the button. So it's interesting because, maybe I wouldn't have been able to find my keys if the water was, in my car.
Everyone climbs into the front seat, and we all 4 girls use all our girl power, and we push this door open, and there's about 6 or 7 guys across the street that come running over to our rescue to try to push this car up out of the mud into higher ground.
Was there ever a point that you thought we're not going to make it? Was there ever a point where you thought this could end badly?
Yes. I firmly believe that this was going to be my last few minutes. And I was so upset that, this situation happened, and that, there was nothing we knew of to do at the time to get out of this situation except try to push this door open. But we thankfully got the door open, we got out of the car, and that wasn't even the worst of it.
So now I'm even more confused because she is in a parking lot, but the photo, okay, it's 2:18. Let me just go back a little bit. Well, a lot. Where did they show? Right, so they showed this photo, which is not in a parking lot. It's on the road. Okay, now I get it. The parking lot is next to the road, most likely. Sorry. Don't know why it took me that long to figure that out, but it's just it was hard to figure out what was happening.
Of it. We all link arms and go past, and right when we pass the rip current, I get swiped out from underneath my feet. And I am literally submerged in this water. I am almost a victim of the surge. I almost go off into the water. And I am so grateful that one person just happened to snag me by my arm and keep me up in this water, or else I'm very confident I would have drowned. I'm so grateful that I've had these strangers that noticed us in need of help and were able to physically come save us as well.
Wow.
And to add to this, Avery has a heart condition and lost all of her medicine. But the good news is she's in the process of getting that replaced. And those floodwaters made Avery's therapy dog, Finn, sick. So how he's being kept for treatment overnight at a local vet. I'll have more on that coming up on CBS17.com, guys. And, of course, we thank people who share these stories with us.
Just gives you chills hearing her describe what she went through, and she's so very, very lucky to be alive.
No doubt about it. And she knows
story. All right, Russ, thank you.
You bet.
And that reminds me of a comment I think Steph B had made earlier about medications and how they say, make sure you have enough, that you stock up, but a lot of them, insurances won't let you fill them until you're pretty much out. So thankfully this young girl, there were people around who also, risked their lives to help her and her dog, and they're safe, and, puppy's going to be okay. So Olivia said, where did it go? The river just took so many houses off their slabs. We left last Sunday. FEMA has approved us to be gone until December if need be. My house was fine. No power or water. Roads just washed away some places. Hey, Katie B. Oh, wow. Mudslide in Washington State. My BFF lost her husband and 3 kids in a very large landslide that took the whole neighborhood. Her one son was pulled from the mud and survived. That is super scary. All right, so let's see. I think we'll do one more video and then we'll get to the Washington Post article. Okay, so now this one I had seen a few days ago. And, you know, I've really only thought about those inland, those affected by the hurricane on the coast of Florida, the coast of Georgia. But I didn't really think about those who may have been out in the ocean who needed rescue. So this story is such a good story. This man and his dog were rescued, and the rescuer had like a GoPro on, so we're able to see it.
Right now, the rescue at sea during Hurricane Helene. You may have seen that the Coast Guard saved a man and his dog from his disabled boat. Gio Benitez is here with the inside story of how they pulled off the daring rescue. Good morning, Gio.
George, good morning. Yeah, over the weekend, so many of us saw that unbelievable rescue video of the sailor and his dog right in the middle of Hurricane Helene's wrath. But now this morning right here, we're hearing exactly how it went down, and the new details are just as incredible as the video itself. This morning, Coast Guard video seen here capturing the harrowing rescue of a sailor and his dog from dangerous waves 30 feet high as a treacherous Hurricane Helene moves in. The Coast Guard spotting the vessel 26 miles off the coast of Sanibel Island in Florida, the 36-foot sailboat taking on water. The sailor, Earl Barcombe, telling ABC affiliate WZVN that he and his 10-year-old golden retriever, Gun, were living on the boat and moving away from the hurricane when their motor failed and they began taking on water.
It was moving mountains of water every which way you turn. And these waves were just everywhere you look.
Barcombe calling for help.
And I said, Gun, this isn't the day we're going to die. I'm calling the Coast Guard.
Within minutes, the Coast Guard responding and dropping a diver in the rough waters. This video from the diver's helmet camera. Both Barcombe and Gun, the golden retriever, wearing life vests, jumping into the sea from the sinking ship. The rescuer, Coast Guard Petty Officer Second Class Ted Hudson, telling CNN that adrenaline kicked in.
The helicopter is in 60-mile-an-hour winds. The pilots have to control that the whole time. So it was a dangerous situation to be in, and I was just trying to get out of there as fast as possible.
Then Barcombe and his dog were hoisted up to safety in the helicopter.
What comes next? Time will tell. You know, do I have hope? I have a new understanding, and that's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. And Barcombe also saying he was living out his dream of sailing the world with his dog. He calls him his best friend. The hurricane took his boat, but not that dream. He says he's going to keep trying for that. But most importantly, he is beyond grateful to that officer and the Coast Guard for saving their lives, guys.
Such a good story. Such a good story. And I mean, that dog, you could see he was like, no, I don't want to go. And you know, he has his little life vest on. Just such a good story. And I have more good stories at the end too. I promise. All right. So nope, that's the wrong one. I was going to go to the Actually, we're not going to go to Washington Post just yet. Not just yet. All right, so this is where, you know, just more survivor stories to kind of give an idea of, you know, what people went through, because, you know, their stories are important. I know, Steph, that Puppers is his BFF for sure.
Back to the aftermath of Helene. The story of a couple in Yancey County captures the start of the storm to the recovery efforts this week. They were stranded for days. Their coverage starts with this, the floodwaters quickly filling the streets. And this is how it ended, rowing a canoe to safety. WRL's Grace Holland shows all the moments in between.
This was as close as Olivia Cooner thought Helene's floodwaters would get to her Burnsville home.
We're not going to get flooded. The water won't reach us.
She kept recording on her phone, capturing as the water rose 30 feet in 3 hours.
I've never seen water.
So 10 feet an hour, that's pretty quick. I mean,
not powerful before.
Creeping into the driveway, then the basement of the home she shares with her boyfriend and dog.
And then we started to see a couple of houses go by, and we were just completely in shock. We watched somebody get swept away in their truck. That was the hardest thing to watch because there was nothing that we could do to help this person.
They watched and waited from their living room, even considered hiking up the mountain behind their house.
I mean, at any point, we could have had a mudslide come down, and we were just trying not to think about that possibility.
By afternoon, the waters receded. Then they realized they were alone.
We were completely trapped. The bridge was completely in half. It had collapsed.
The next day, neighbors ventured out, sharing what little information and supplies they had. 2 days after that, strangers hiked in, trying to reach loved ones with a message for the couple.
My brother, his girlfriend, and my dad, and Eli's dad all flew in and were prepared to hike however long it took to get to us to rescue us.
Good job. This was the moment she and her dog crossed the Cane River. Safely on the other side, their community faces an uphill battle to rebuild and no clear way back to the homes they left. Grace Holland, WRAL News.
Wow, what a story.
No kidding. The images that she was able to capture along the way.
Frightening.
Yeah.
She says that most of her neighbors did evacuate, though one man did choose to stay. The couple is now staying with family. They're in Topsail Island for at least the next month or so. They hope to return to Asheville after that and help in all of the rebuilding. But you see the damage.
Yeah.
The road was taken out, the bridge.
Yeah.
Man.
Just that desperate climb into that canoe.
Mhm.
oh, is it Olivia? That's where your mom lives? Yancey County, Burnsville, North Carolina. I hope your mom is okay and as well. Yeah, KDB. I try not to watch like the really bad things. It just, especially the stuff with animals, that I can't do. I can't do it. I do have a couple of stories about animals though. And they're good stories. They're good stories. All right, let me just see. Okay, so we're going to go to the Washington Post article, if I can find it. And then we'll get back to that. So, Washington Post, in North Carolina, there was before Helene. This is the after. And this photo, you know, the water line, just seeing it go through this photo, you know, this actually looks like a handprint right here. I mean, I could just be making things up, but it looks like it's a handprint. So it says, oh, there we go. Anita Crowder stood in the warm October sun, her face weary, her shoes caked in mud, her blue eyes surveying a place she'd known all her life, but one that now seemed so unfamiliar. I buried my daddy 2 weeks ago, Crowder, 67, said outside the home in Swannanoa her father had shared with his wife Betty for more than a half century. 6 days after his funeral, on September 27th, the storm had hit and the river had swelled, devouring much in its path, including the small white house where Kenneth Crowder's daughter had spent Thanksgivings and Christmases for as long as she could remember. I called him every day. If I didn't call him, he called me, said Anita, whose 87-year-old stepmother waded to safety through the floodwaters with the help of neighbors. It would have made him sick, seeing everything they worked so hard for washed away. Now, as she navigated rooms where the water had flipped and mangled furniture, where mud stuck to the walls and sat ankle deep on the floor, she tried to salvage a few old photos and tools and documents. She thought about how so much had changed so fast, both in her life and in so many lives across this region. 2 different eras, she said. Things will be totally different. I'm going to zoom back out so we can see this photo. Oh my gosh, look at that water line. Oops, sorry about that. I went way too far in. Trying to get to this one. It's a lot of water. And just so much mud and muck. And yeah, the mildew and mold is probably, I mean, so that looks like that's the outside. And just, it looks like debris just like in the windows. My gosh. It's terrible. What the heck did I just do? Oh. Barely a week after Helene barreled across the South, leaving a trail of suffering and loss hundreds of miles wide in its wake, its true toll has yet to fully come into focus. The crisis here in western North Carolina, as well as in parts of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia, remains far from over, and only the first flickers of recovery have begun. At least 229 people have died, a total that seems destined to climb higher as communities dig out from oceans of debris. While the level of loss varies from community to community, and sometimes from street to street, almost everyone who endured this unprecedented storm agrees on this much. In these mountains, Helene will forever mark a dividing line, a before and an after, the end of one era and the beginning of another that for now is full of uncertainty and angst. Entire towns lie in ruins. Roads large and small are washed out. Search crews continue to scour the mountainous terrain in helicopters, on all-terrain vehicles, and even on horseback to check on souls still unaccounted for in rural outposts. Many residents still have no power or cell signal or running water, even as a wave of aid flowed in over recent days. Already, the storm has changed not only the physical landscape of this region, but the inner landscape of those who experience this cataclysmic event. I'm trying to understand the magnitude of what is happening, said Adam Smith, who endured the storm with his wife and 2 kids just outside Asheville, North Carolina. Smith, a scientist and economist for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, is also one of the nation's foremost experts on the costs of extreme weather disasters, but not until this week had his own family experienced such a But not until this week had his own family experienced such a catastrophe firsthand. I think everyone is still in a bit of a state of shock. It's almost like a dream, he said Thursday, nearly a week after his own home lost electricity and running water. Maybe dream is not the right word. Maybe more like a nightmare. A week on, there are more questions than answers. Why was this region so unprepared for a storm of this magnitude? What will happen to the economy here? To the vibrant culture built on art and breweries, on music and nature? How long will it take to reconstruct what's destroyed, to reopen schools, to house those suddenly without homes, to bury the dead? Will aid keep coming? When will the world move on? see if I can. Oop. Where did that photo go? Here it is. It's crazy. By the next day, the forecast was so alarming, Smith left work early. He texted friends a dire warning the National Weather Service had issued, making clear Helene's flooding would likely surpass that caused by tropical systems that passed through here in 2004 and 2021, and perhaps what had been the area's historic flood of record in 1916. So by the next, oh shoot, I skipped some. Oh boy, I skipped a lot. Sorry about that. Rewind. All right, so we had that picture. So much vanished in the wake of the storm, houses and vehicles, businesses, and with them, livelihoods. But there were also less tangible things that disappeared in the past week. One was the sense that Western North Carolina, with its high elevation, inland location, and mild seasons, is a safe harbor in an age of more extreme weather. This, the thinking went, is a place more and more people are destined to flee to escape rising seas, stronger storms, and the crippling heat elsewhere in the country. Then came Helene. For someone like myself who studies these disasters deeply over many years and understands them quite well, said Smith, the NOAA scientist, they can still surprise and shock us. He had spent the Tuesday before the storm working, tracking the latest additions to a list of weather events around the country that caused more than $1 billion in damages, a tally that had already reached 20 as of September 1st. A record $28 billion disasters hit the United States last year. By the next day, the forecast was so alarming, Smith left work early. So that was Tuesday. So on Wednesday, he left early, and then he texted friends. Okay, so I read that part. Then he stepped out into his yard Wednesday evening and felt the ground. It was already saturated. The storm's eye had not even made landfall in Florida, and yet he began to dread how dramatic the flooding might become. He found himself feverishly hunting for portable pumps and other supplies to protect his basement, which had flooded in 2021 when the remnants of Tropical Storm Fred brought deadly rains. He visited 4 stores that were sold out before he found the pumps, and he also grabbed sandbags and waterproof tape. Like so many, Smith and his family had to navigate a world with no electricity, water, internet, or cell phone connection after the storm. His children, in 6th and 10th grades, kept themselves entertained playing outside with neighbors. As families gathered to grill food that would soon spoil, he wondered how dire conditions were in so many communities that weren't as fortunate as his own. He finds himself in the fog of recovery. In the past, so much of his work on disasters was confined to spreadsheets rather than the world outside his door. I mean, just complete dirt, like no grass, just dirt, mud, sand, dirt. Oh, and clay. Let's not forget clay. It seems almost callous amid so much loss to consider what October might otherwise have looked like in the communities that dot the Blue Ridge Mountains. But amid the immediate suffering here, there is a quiet but unmistakable grief, not only for what has happened, but for all that will not, no matter how trivial. The autumn leaves will come and go without the usual hordes of tourists clogging the Blue Ridge Parkway and filling up the inns and restaurants that help fuel the local economy. The woolly worm caterpillar race won't happen at the Woolly Worm Festival in Banner Elk. Oh my gosh, I love woolly worm caterpillars, and I didn't realize there was an actual race of them. The famous Biltmore Estate sits closed. Driving out of the region earlier this week, Kanda Molinari despaired as she saw how many local landmarks had been claimed by the raging waters. Places where we used to go shop or eat were replaced with the French Broad River, said the retired teacher from Weaverville. For Liam Brown, this place once brimmed with opportunity. He landed a job managing the tap room at Archetype Brewery in Asheville over the summer, and things were starting to click in the days before Helene. So many people flocked to play trivia the Tuesday before the storm that one of the 19 teams had to sit outside. The 24-year-old Brown stayed long past the end of his shift to help. 2 nights later, rain started to pour as Helene made landfall in Florida. Crowds packed the bar inside for hurricane beers with no sense of what lay ahead. In a place known as Beer City, USA, with dozens of breweries, it can be hard to stand out as a small neighborhood tap house. But the packed house had Brown optimistic that October would be a busy month. We had some good momentum. Helene has now upended life for workers like Brown who keep the region's tourism engine humming. Even for businesses that didn't wash away, pipes that deliver much of Asheville's water have been destroyed. And until the taps work again, much of the industry has ground to a halt. Sky Warren, 23, worked at a bed and breakfast in Black Mountain until Helene nearly destroyed it. The only money we have is what's in our pockets. There is a looming panic about the future. She had just moved in with her partner, Mackenzie Malone, who cooks at a restaurant next door to Archetype. They got the initial $750 from FEMA for households in Helene's path, but otherwise have no current way to pay rent. The basement of the old house they share was so damaged by flooding, their landlord told them they'll need to find a new place to live by early next year. A week after everything changed, life at the brewery also looked very different. Brown and his small team managed to reopen with enough cans of free water and beer to last a while. Stir-crazy customers filed in, some newly out of work, looking for a place to charge phones and get out of the house. The effort was wearing on Brown, on top of the stress of getting by in a city with no running water. He planned to leave town for a few days to visit his parents and hopefully to take his first hot shower in a week. On Thursday, though he learned the brewery would be closing for now, he said, "I hate that we're shutting down, but it is a little bit of a relief." He, too, would be headed for the unemployment rolls soon. Is that him? He looks... so this is Porter Edwards, 10, helps his father clean up debris at Mad Company Brew House in Marshall, North Carolina. Ugh. A week after Helene, the skies above western North Carolina buzz with constant traffic from private planes and small helicopters bringing in donations. In one Black Hawk high above Ashe County on Wednesday, National Guard members scanned the mountainsides and valleys below. The radio crackled with requests for help. A woman had run out of food and water and wanted to leave. A man with diabetes needed to be evacuated. The ground has shifted under so many people in a swath of the South, from the streets of Augusta, Georgia, to the mountains of East Tennessee. Before Helene even battered Valdosta, Georgia, Rhiannon Abrahamian and her husband, a butcher, had gotten used to living without power for a few days or more. It's already happened 3 times in the last year because of hurricanes and a tropical storm. I used to be able to buy formula and diapers for their toddler and 8-month-old, Abrahamian said. The reality now feels more dire. Everybody's babies were running out of diapers at the same time. Wipes were gone too. In this area, where more than 1 in 5 people live below the poverty line, you have to drive 3 hours out of town to find something. She said this week they had a half a tank of gas. 2 weeks before the storm, the main street in the small North Carolina town of Marion was shut down for a huge festival organized by Latino Unido, a nonprofit supporting the region's Latino community. Performers traveled all the way from Mexico, and people came out to eat and celebrate. But on Friday, The group's offices were busy with volunteers organizing food and supply drops. Others helped Spanish speakers navigate the FEMA application process. The Mexican embassy sent staff and money. Maria Guadalupe Garcia Rodriguez sent her 14-year-old daughter to her aunt's house ahead of Helene. I didn't realize this article was so long. Garcia Rodriguez got ready for work the following morning and realized she couldn't get out or reach anyone because cell service was down. She was rescued, she believes, by police, and her brother-in-law was able to pick her up amid the driving rain and flooded roads. But for 2 wrenching days, she did not know whether her daughter was safe. When I finally talked to her, she said, "Mom, I'm okay." And I said, "Thank God this is finally over." And then she said, "Mom, what about the house?" And I said, "We don't have a house anymore." Okay, so I'm going to share this article. I did not realize it was this long. And I do have a couple of videos left to get through. So I will share the link, but that's a long article. Long article. Yeah, Olivia, Black Mountain and Swannanoa were literally underwater, like a lot of the other towns. Yeah. I mean, and just seeing the... Actually, let me just see. I just want to see how many videos I have left, because I might have to... Yes. I think, because I'm already at my 2 hours, and unfortunately, I have work tomorrow. I think we're going to do 2 more videos, the animal videos that I had, and then give me 1 second. The other videos we will save for another time, because I thought I had less videos than I do. All right, so we're going to go to this one. Oh, but these are good animal stories. These are good animal stories. Believe me, Sandy, if they were sad ones, I can't do it. Can't do it. So these are good stories. Marshall and Mars Hill were also underwater. So this is the rescue, the search and rescue that I had mentioned earlier. I don't remember their name, but they specialize in rescuing animals.
A Kansas City-based animal rescue group that helped with animal rescues during the Maui wildfires is at it again.
Now working to save animals in the Southeast caught in Hurricane Helene, Fox 4's Hannah King joins us. And Hannah, this group started in Florida, then moved to Georgia, and is now in North Carolina.
You're exactly right. This organization has an agreement with the state of North Carolina that during disasters, the state can call them and they can come in and evacuate animals and their owners.
Oh, and their owners. I did not hear that.
Many people up on the mountain this week that we were the first people they made it down to.
Animal search and rescue has been on the ground in western NC for about a week now.
Every community and every mountain town that we've been in, that we've rolled into, there are needs. I've been doing this for 24 years, and I say all the time that each disaster is different, but the impact up in the mountains and the amount of rain that has taken out the infrastructure, the recovery is not months here. The recovery is years.
And somehow its executive director, Eric Thompson, made time to share what it's been like.
Sorry, Hannah, hang on just a second. It's everyone good.
In the middle of a forced evacuation between 2 rivers.
We can bring not only field work, but also shelter support, air support to move animals out.
The state will get calls for assistance, then the group is dispatched out.
There were originally roads and bridges out there, and now there's not. And so the evacuation request was to get these horses across these rivers and off a mountain.
To rescue and reunite. Thompson is also seeing the special human-animal bond too.
Because they were trying to open gates for their horses so the horses wouldn't be swept down the river. They were trying during the flood. They were in the flood.
Oh my gosh, look at all those horses. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6.
Pasture, opening gates, trying to get them to higher ground, and we're almost swept away. I get choked up talking about it because it had been horrific.
Had to have been horrific indeed. ASAR story of supporting is just one, and Thompson says there are thousands of responders assisting the state right now. Bria.
Hannah King in studio for us tonight. Hannah, thank you. And come.
So just and that was, I think it's just Kansas City Search and Rescue. They didn't really say. I didn't hear a name unless I missed it. All right. So the last story I have is of a dog who was found in a tree surrounded by debris, and he was reunited with his family. So it may be sad, but it'll be happy sad. And then we'll do some last thoughts.
In the aftermath of the flooding, crews doing rescues in Washington County, Tennessee, discovered a dog stuck in a tree 20 feet off the ground. Fox 39's Rebecca Pepin picks up the story from there.
With all the devastation, it is so wonderful to be able to share some good news. Look at Athena. She was swept away by floodwaters, but survived. She's waiting on her family to get here to the Washington County Johnson City Animal Shelter. They'll be here any minute. But before we talk about the reunion, let's take a look at how we got here.
He turned my head to the window and said, "We have to go." And I saw the road was flooded with water.
Allie and TJ Faulkner live in Jonesboro, Tennessee, along the Nolichucky River. When they realized how fast the water was rising on Friday, they rushed their kids to his parents' house. TJ heading back with his dad to try to rescue their pets, but it was too late.
We took his front end loader and we put it up against a building and climbed up on a building.
From the top of that building, he watched as his house disappeared down the river.
A bunch of debris pushed up against my front porch, and it was metal steel beams. It just collapsed my front porch, and when it done that, it just pushed my house, and it just floated. It floated like an arc.
The family's pets still inside. TJ certain he'd never see them again. Then Wednesday evening, this video surfaced on social media.
Good girl, hey. I was weeping, I was laughing, I was so happy.
The Kingsport Fire Department and a Murfreesboro Police Department canine team discovered Athena in a tree with floodwaters in the area.
I mean, that is incredible. I mean, she was 20 feet up in, the tree. It's almost like a little nest up there. She was just sitting there. And I can only imagine how many other animals may be just hanging out, waiting for rescue. Yeah. Hey, Green, how are you? Athena strong for sure. Right, Sandy? She's saying, I'll just stay up here. What are the chances?
Waters in the area receding, she was now 20 feet off the ground.
The bloodhound was walking and just started going crazy, and I just happened to look up in the tree and, it's like, oh my God, there's a dog.
Athena sitting there quietly.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Now, even that perspective makes it even that more wild because the water had to have been so high. And she's just, and that bloodhound, he should get extra snacks because who would have seen her,
As the rescuers raced to dig out a damaged ladder from the debris.
So I climbed up there and I gave her a little bit more food and kind of just make sure she wasn't going to nip at me. And she was probably the sweetest dog I've ever met in my life. She went to everyone that was down there and was rubbing all over them, and she was thanking us.
Athena's heroes taking her to the shelter where Thursday morning she was reunited with her family.
I'd like to thank all of you all. You put a light at the end of her tunnel, and I appreciate it.
The Faulkners say despite all they have lost, they're feeling grateful. They have each other and Athena now back safely in their arms.
It's like another member of her family. She's like another child. She means a lot to us.
In Johnson City, Rebecca Pepin, Fox 39 News at 10.
Yeah, Grain, I was curious too, because I know it hit parts of there. It could just be that they brought Athena to they had said Washington County, Johnson City shelter. But I was, yeah. Oh, Jonesboro. Okay, thank you, Josh. I missed that part. But just a good story. I had initially seen a Facebook reel, and it had just the dog sitting in the tree. And so when I was getting ready for this live, I was going to add that story, the initial story, but then when I looked it up again, I saw that Athena had been reunited with her owners, and that, such a great thing, and like the dad said, we've lost everything, but this brings us, at least a little bit of hope. So I will continue to follow this, and also, watch, this hurricane that will be reaching Florida in no time. And depending, I don't think in this case, looking at the trajectory of Hurricane Milton, I feel like everybody in Central Florida is going to be affected in some way, possibly further out. Oh, okay. They were volunteering when it happened. Volunteering. Got it. Around these areas, we have mad yellow jackets. They're super mad. Jackets nest. So those get all over anything. My biggest fear, bee attack. That is scary. Yeah, Olivia, that's those are the stories, like the people who were saved, but then their family members weren't. There was, there's been a few I've seen, but the most heartbreaking is the family that was on the roof and their house started moving, and only mom made it out alive. I watched them myself, but I try to keep those, not on my live. Oh, Josh, I don't know if I'll be covering it tomorrow. I know we have to do an update live. There's a lot of things going on. I had mentioned Carly Gregg. They filed a motion for a new trial. Stephen Schwally, who is the man who drove drunk into a nail salon, killing 6. I believe it was 6. 4 or 6. He's gotten a new lawyer. There's, some other stories happening that I've been putting off. So I think tomorrow we'll do probably an update live, but we'll definitely revisit this at some point. We will have Wordsy Wednesday on Wednesday, and yeah, we'll go from there. So I think tomorrow's going to be an update live. And so if anybody has any stories that you want me to cover, feel free to email me at headstonesandheadlines@gmail.com. Whether it be, news stories, or if you have stories that you've seen regarding the hurricane and you'd think they'd be interesting to watch and discuss, that's cool too. Oh my goodness, Olivia. Wasps. The linemen are having to, I'm sure they're, I don't know how it affects insects, but I'm sure they're probably, having a hard time too, I would think. All right, y'all. Well, thanks everybody for being here. I do appreciate it on this Sunday. I'm going to go get some food and get ready for the old worky tomorrow. But thankfully, students only have 4 days this week because teachers have meetings all day on Friday for superintendent's conference day. So it's a short week this week for kids, short week next week because Monday is Columbus Day. So, and before we know it, it's going to be Thanksgiving. And I heard on the radio, I don't know if it was last week. It must have been last week. Yeah, because September 30th. It was 3 months till Christmas. 3 months till Christmas. So now it's less than. So I hope everybody has a great rest of your night. And if I don't see y'all on these YouTube streets, I will see you all on the flip side.
Let it take me to that place now. I won't ever let my thoughts get away now. I got better things to do, picking fate now. I just wanna be the best, call me great now. I don't know if I'm okay or insane now. I remember better days on the playground, hoping I can find my way. Even when I'm feeling down, I fight. Even when I don't know what is right, I'ma pick a side and I'ma take pride. I will decide my fate and I will never let them tell me who I am. If you try to shape me, I'll be damned. Planet on the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside. I'm alone.